Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, to today's stream where I am joined by Trip Kramer, one of the OG dating gurus on YouTube. And today we will talk about the modern state of dating for probably both men and women. But before we dive into the topic, guys, do me a favor if you haven't already done so. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel, ring the notification bell, enable all notifications for this channel. Otherwise, you will not get my content in your recommendations. Leave any questions in the live chat if you're joining us live, and if not, leave any questions, comments, feedback in the comments below, and I will be sure to get back to you. That being said, let's go ahead and kick it off. Trip, how you doing today? It's a pleasure having you on.
Good, doing good, man. I'm happy to be here. I always love doing an interview on Fridays. I don't know why, but I feel like I've been just hitting the ground running on Monday through Thursday, creating a lot of content, and it's nice to kind of take a back seat, on Friday and just like have a conversation with someone, have someone else kind of lead it, and it's a different type of conversation than, just the type of content that I usually put out, which is me interviewing people.
Yeah.
So it's just it's good to be here, man.
The interviews are really nice. I enjoy that too, because you don't have to do all the back end stuff, set up the video and do the thumbnail and promote it and all that. It's like, oh, you just get the calendar notification. Let's jump on and get it going. So I do have somewhat of an outline here, but before we jump into the main topics, give me a bit of a rundown. How'd you get started in the whole dating coach topic, and what's been your history on YouTube? I went through your channel and see that you've been around for quite a while. In fact, I'm a bit jealous. I wish I would have gotten started a decade ago. Who knows where I'd be now?
Yeah, I mean it's been a real interesting journey. The past 10 years. I mean it's funny because I said the same thing 10 years ago when I first started YouTube. I was like, oh man, I wish I just started in 2007, and at the time it was 2012. But, there's never a bad time to start. I think for me, it was interesting to see that I was not the first dating coach on YouTube. There was a bunch of other people who were doing YouTube videos, and so I thought it was too late. But then I just stuck with it, and it's just a passion of mine. I've always been interested too in film and video production and media, so I feel like I got the opportunity here to really bridge the passions between dating advice and helping guys and also producing media. So that's what's really kept me in it for the long haul. And of course, I still do a lot of other kind of media like TikToks and Instagram Reels, and I have a podcast myself. And so, my days are filled with just producing content, and it's just been great. I mean, how I got started originally is I take it back. We can take it back real far. I can take it back to like 2006 when I first read the book The Game, which I don't even know if people even really know what that book is anymore, if they're just finding dating
I remember
advice.
it. I think I was just starting college around that time.
Okay, cool. So yeah, you remember it. I mean, any guy from 2005 to 2012 knew about that book. It was just all the rage. And I think it was because it was the first time that in pop culture there was information and stories about guys who were going out and picking up women, where that was not really a big topic of conversation unless it was maybe underground in forums or online, things like that. And so I found that book 2006. A buddy of mine recommended it to me, and I read the book like probably in the course of a couple of years, like 3 or 4 times. I was so obsessed with this idea of you can actually figure out ways to attract women. Like there was systems and processes, and there was things you could do even if you were not a typical good-looking guy who was wealthy and had status. And so that was really interesting to me, and seemed to be, it's a best-selling book, interesting to many other guys out there. So I took my journey of, it's not, if anyone knows it, it's not a self-help book, it's a story disguised as a self-help book. Like it seems like it is. If you read the chapters, it seems like it's like a book that teaches you how to meet women. It does a little bit, but really it's just a story of how a guy learned. And so I went through this whole journey where I just started going online and finding all this information. And this was before you could really find a lot of information online about meeting women. Yeah, there was some dating advice, but nothing as big as it is today. And I got hooked on it. I mean, I was just totally obsessed with learning about meeting women, attracting women, it was always something that was interesting to me anyways. I was always trying to get out there and meet girls and power through the shyness that I really had. And so after discovering all this pickup artist information, I started to implement it and go out there and talk to women and use it, and it didn't really work. And that was kind of a bummer because I was like, I don't get it. How's it working for all these other guys? And like, I try to use it, and like, I get called out. Girls are already calling me out. Like, is this a pickup line? And I'm like, wait, this is the opposite of what's supposed to happen. So maybe a couple of years went by, and I decided that I would just go out and maybe figure it out on my own a little bit. And I just kind of threw away all the information, and I was like, I'm just going to go out and talk to women and just see what happens, because I've never done that before. And by the way, I make this sound easy. I was not having a great time. It was very tough for me. I was very nervous to talk to women. And I didn't know really what to say. I didn't know how to flirt. I didn't know how to connect with any women. So I was just kind of guessing. And over a couple years of putting myself out there and just being more social and talking to more women, and then from there, doing a little bit of research, talking to some coaches that existed at the time, I was able to really put it together, and I had all these little mental clicks. And around 2009, I started a podcast where I remained anonymous because I actually wasn't trying to go big with it. I just wanted to do a podcast with a buddy where we gave dating advice, and it was just a hobby. And about 20 episodes, 30 episodes in, I decided, you know what? This is like my obsession beyond. Now I'm not only interested in learning it, but I'm really interested in teaching it and helping other guys. It's kind of like when you learn something new, like a hack, and you're just excited to share it because you're like, man, this really worked for me. And you want to share it with a buddy. You ever get that? Yeah. So that was like times 10. I had all this information I wanted to share, and I wanted to share it with as many guys as possible. So I started Trip Advice, and that was in 2011 that I officially started that. And that is when, then at that time, the podcast actually died because my partner who I was doing it with, he just was done with it. He didn't want to do the podcast anymore. He was over it. And so I needed a new way to advertise my services. I was kind of relying on this podcast to be the thing that was going to help me build my business of teaching men how to meet women. And I didn't know what to do. So then I was like, well, I know about YouTube a little bit, and I saw that there were other coaches on there. So I started a YouTube channel. And that was back in 2012 when I officially started that. And that's how I got into it. That's the long story short up until 2012.
Hey, Trip, I was going to ask you real quick. I know it seemed that we had cleaned it up in the pre-show.
Yeah,
but
looks like
I'm
it's
getting
cracking
comments
too.
here.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. Are you running it through an audio interface? Is there something?
Yeah, it is.
Is there like a gain set there or something?
There used to be an issue that I thought I fixed, and I fixed for a while. Looks like it's back, though.
Doesn't that drive you nuts? I do vintage stereo stuff. I like analog audio, and same thing. I'll get it all good, and then I'll put on a record, and then like for whatever reason, my right speaker, it'll start cracking on certain frequencies, and I have to go to the equalizer and dial it in or dial it out.
I literally bought all new equipment 6 months ago, and it fixed it. And I guess, I don't know, we're back. So maybe you talk for a little bit, and I'll kind of fix it and listen.
Yeah, I can go ahead and do that. So it seems like you're a bit ahead of me in the sense that you got started, like we mentioned, and to kick off the show, roughly 10 years ago or so, like 2009 time frame. And you made a comment that really resonated with me in the sense that once you get something, you do want to share it with people. And that was kind of my experience with the dating topics too. I never fancied myself a dating guru. I was actually obese growing up. So I think that created like an identity issue to where it's like, all right, well, I can't get girls, or girls don't love me, or I'm incapable of receiving love. And then lost all the weight, and then realized very quickly, like, oh, wow, like I'm attractive now, or attractive to the sense that girls are attracted to me. And then realized that the whole time, even when I was fat, girls would tell me like, hey, I liked you the entire time. So still had to kind of do some of that identity, change the identity, I suppose, to speak. And then when I was going into college, all of a sudden it was just off to the races. So I had a ton of inbound type options, but I didn't really know the dating game, so to speak. And then it wasn't until I was in like my mid 20s or so where I tried to do like the long-term relationship model. and that didn't quite work for me. So I could get the initial lay, or I could get the date, I could get the lay. I knew how to do all that stuff. But when it came time to having a relationship, I'd always blow it up. And I think a lot of guys run into that issue. So then it got to the point where like, all right, I'm really going to get this down from A to Z. So not only figure out how to do like day game, night game, online game, and get the lay, but actually have solid relationships with these girls. And once I got it, and I think you mentioned something like you have these little pieces and then you're like, okay, well, let me try changing this, let me try changing that. And then once you dial it in, then all of a sudden the world changes. You're like, oh, okay, it was actually a lot easier than I thought it was. So for me, it was never a goal to be like, and I wouldn't even fancy myself a dating coach, so to speak. I would say I'm just a dork on the internet behind a microphone wanting to share stuff with guys. But I got it figured out to a point where other people started noticing, and people would consistently ask me like, dude, you always have a chick with you, or you always have success in this area of your life. And they assume that maybe I was a natural, but I never was. I had to kind of learn those things. But once I got it down, I was like, okay, well, I see a lot of guys suffering when it comes to these types of topics, and I don't want to see people suffer. I'm an advocate of healthy, happy relationships, whether that's a single MLTR, whether that's marriage, whether that's a multiple long-term relationship, or whether it's just kind of playing the field and having fun. So I see you unmuted. How's your audio doing?
I don't know. You tell
again?
me. Did we fix it? I do have one more option if we need to do it, but how does it
It's
sound?
it's still crackling a little bit.
Yeah, that's not good, man. Sorry about
Jeez.
this. I mean,
Oh, no worries.
I've been going live now for the past 2 months, and every time it's been fine. That's when I would go live, it would mess up. So I'm gonna try
we
one
got
more.
a good.
I'm gonna try one more thing.
Yeah, we got
real
it good
quick.
in the pre-show. Okay. So I'll go through some comments. So great, awesome topic. Hope to be listening by the end once the meeting ends. Yep, I definitely appreciate having you as an audience member. The Hudsman, this will be good. Hey, what's up, Huds? Thank you for sharing this. Yes, sir. Yeah, we're dealing with the audio issue. Lee, what's up, gents? Hey, Lee, how's it going? So, guys, at this point, I suppose if you have any questions or comments, go ahead and leave them in the live chat as we figure out the audio issue. I can answer them and until we get Trip back on, or I can just keep going telling my story.
Okay. Let's try now. How's now?
It's still crackling. I wonder if it's a digital issue. It doesn't sound like it's an audio issue, like an actual cable that's not connected correctly.
I just don't know what else it would be. It's still crackling pretty bad.
Yeah, is there any way you could just switch the audio source to your headset?
Yeah,
I know
you
that's not
could
ideal,
just,
but every now and then I have to do that too. That sucks too because you got that nice mic. Is that Shure? What is it? SM7B?
Yeah, how am I coming in now?
Oh, there's quite a bit of background noise, but I think it's probably probably a
Okay.
little better.
Let's see here.
Is there a way? Can you turn the gain down, or can you turn the volume down a bit on the mic?
Let me see. Default external microphone. 2, test 1, 2. Okay, I'll try to turn it down.
Yeah, because it's picking up quite a bit of background noise.
How about now? Is this better?
I think that's better. That'll
Yeah.
do. And I can always pull the background noise out and repost the video. But
Cool.
I think
Sorry
it should
about
be
that,
fine.
guys. Yeah.
Yeah, we
I
were
know.
we were
Might
fine
need-
in the pre-show. That's the part that sucks.
I might need a new mic. I don't know. I mean, I've had this one for many years now, but anyway.
That
So
happened to this mic one time. I used to travel with it, and one time I came home, plugged it in, wasn't working, so I pulled it all apart, and one of the wires broke. So I had to dust off my soldering skills. I was like a home electronics enthusiast as a kid, so I had to dust off my soldering skills and get it together. But still, it doesn't get the bass frequencies of my voice. It's kind of like a telephone frequency band. It's just that mid frequency. So
right.
I'm looking to upgrade to a mic like yours.
Well, be careful.
All right. So where were we?
Okay,
We were talking
so
about getting your software down.
I was gonna
Oh,
say,
dude, you're still crackling.
really.
So I'm wondering if is that a software issue?
Well, now that we're really diagnosing it, we're still crackling.
Yeah. You completely changed the audio source too.
Yeah, I did. Okay, so I guess it's not the mics and all that. It's something else. This is kind of a bummer. I don't want
No,
this to
that's
be cracking the whole time because that will not be fun for people.
Yeah. What we can do, once we get it diagnosed, I'll go in the YouTube Creator Studio and I'll just cut this whole segment out. that's probably best, and then we can just start at the top again because I think we're only a few minutes in.
Okay, cool. I can't see how many people are with us right now.
I don't have too many. I'm a smaller channel. I've got looks like 7 live viewers right now.
Okay,
So
well, thanks guys for hanging in there. Appreciate it while we do this. So it's still cracking a lot. I'm just gonna tell you right now, you won't
it
be able to
is,
fix
yeah,
this in post. I've
yeah.
tried that. I've tried that. It's so interesting. I
Yeah, I'm
also
trying.
think it could be StreamYard. I don't know because
Yeah,
that's the
you know what?
software we're using. But again, you're not cracking, so
I've never had that issue on my end. Let's see. On your end, under settings, under settings audio, do you see anything like echo cancellation or
yeah,
automatically adjust mic volume? I'm wondering if any of those are doing it.
okay. I just hit echo cancellation.
Yeah,
Does
I
that
think that
work?
sounds a little better. I
No,
think so.
you're cracking a little bit.
Now I sound like I'm cracking.
Yeah, it's weird.
Damn it.
Everything sound good here? Test 1, 2. Are we good?
Yeah, yeah, you sound good. Well, here,
No
let's try
cracking.
that. So I'm cracking now. Let me turn my echo cancellation off. Do I sound better on your end now?
You're cracking. I know guys who are here. Do you hear his cracking? Am I cracking?
Yeah, now you are.
No, we sound clear now.
Okay, well, as long as we sound clear, yeah, that should be good. And these last few minutes, you're right. I won't be able to clean the audio up in post, but I
Yeah,
can just
I've tried it. I've tried it. Okay, if I'm not cracking, I want to put on the good mic again while we're just
Okay, that
doing
sounds
this.
good.
Right? And I sound good. Everything sounds good. All right, maybe the echo cancellation fixed it. All right.
I still hear a little bit on my end, but if it sounds good to the audience, I'm fine with that.
Audience, how am I sounding? Test 1, 2. Thanks for the technical. Standing by for the technical
Yeah,
difficulties.
yeah, we can cut this segment from the video. Be like live on air StreamYard audio troubleshooting.
I know. Ah, so annoying, but whatever. We'll get through it. Thanks for being patient, everybody. I'm just not
Yeah,
going to
guys.
touch
In the
the mic
meantime, yeah,
until
guys. In
I
the
know.
meantime, leave your questions, comments, whatnot in the chat.
Okay, let's see.
Yeah, you got that nice microphone there. I'm actually
Dude, I
looking
got all kinds of
to
crazy
upgrade to
shit.
one.
I got all kinds of good stuff here. Spent a lot on this. Man, if it's been StreamYard this whole time, that would be weird. There's Restream too. You ever hear that? That's another one.
Yeah, you know what? I need to probably look into other options. I've never had an issue with StreamYard before, but I see
Neither
other
have I.
people that do live streams and they have more functionality. With StreamYard's kind of bare. You can just do the split screen or share a screen. But I see guys that have all sorts of cool effects and soundboards integrated, so I might look into another streaming service here at some point.
How does this sound? I'm back to my other mic.
Yeah, people are saying it's better, so I suppose we can go from there.
Okay, and this is good too. Test 1, 2. Testing 1, 2.
Yeah. Don't move.
Test
Yeah,
1, 2. The echo cancellation's on. Let me know if it
Alrighty.
sounds okay, and then we'll just keep freaking rocking.
All right, cool. So I'm trying to think. Do we want to start from the beginning to get a clean feed, and I just cut all this?
Oh, I got it. Only if this sounds good. I don't want to do it all over again. Only if it sounds cracking again. So, sobriety.
Yeah.
If you're there, dude,
Yeah.
let us
Is it
know how
cracking
it's
on your end?
sounding. I mean,
I'm
that
hearing
sounds good to me. Sounds good to me.
Okay. I'm hearing a little bit on my end, but it's not as bad as it was. That is the weirdest thing.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Yeah, I think we just pick up where we left off. So you're talking about.
Let's do it.
You guys sound clear. No, we're cracking. Okay,
right,
cool.
let's rock.
Yeah,
Keep going.
I won't worry about it. Yep, let's do
Yeah.
it. So getting started on. So you came across the game coming into on like 2009 timeframe. You had the podcast, killed the podcast, or I don't want to say failed, but the podcast just is no longer. So what brought you into YouTube? How'd you get started? I see you have like 1 million subscribers. So give us a walk down your YouTube journey. And then I actually had a follow-up question to your previous point before the audio troubleshooting, in terms of when you came across the game, were you just kind of curious, like every guy? You're like, oh, what is this? I'll check it out. Or were you, as I gave my kind of spiel, were you at the point where like, okay, I can attract women, but I can't get them to stick around? Or were you at the point where you couldn't even attract women initially? You're like, all right, I need to get this figured out. I don't want to have this issue my entire life. And then you just got it fixed. You're like, wow, not only did I get it figured out, but I'm quite good at it and I can share this knowledge with others. Kind of walk us through that process.
Yeah, sure. So basically in high school and in college, I was always getting, friend zoned. I would be able to get dates a little bit here and there, but I was never really excited about any of the women that I was with in my younger years. So it was never that I completely never had a girlfriend in my life, but I was not by any means good with women, and I was still very shy. I was very social, so I had friends around me, and like, I had my first kiss and lost my virginity and all that stuff at like a pretty normal age. So I never really even well, here's the interesting part. I never thought, okay, I need help. I need to get help, only because it didn't even register in my brain that that could be a question, if that makes sense. It's like I never asked my buddies, "Hey man," like my buddies who were good with women, and it was never like, "Can you give me some tips?" I just thought like my reality was you had it or you didn't. And you just kind of do your best. And I thought a lot of it had to do with look. So I always try to like, dress well, or, when I finally, I wear glasses normally, but I wear contacts now. I got contacts. It was so funny. I got contacts sophomore year of college. I've been wearing glasses every single day from second grade to sophomore year of college to this point. And I thought, I think it's time to get contacts. Let's try it out. And I thought it'd be weird because, people aren't used to me at this point without glasses. But I thought, okay, let's just do it and see what happens. Not for attracting women, not for any purpose other than I just wanted to get contacts.
Mhm.
What ended up happening was that year, I became so much more confident, and I was doing, I mean, this is not much, but I was doing the best I could have done in my dating life for that time. And what I thought in the moment was, oh, okay, I'm able to like attract some more women because I look better. I thought, oh, I got rid of these nerdy glasses, so I look better. And now when I look back, no, that wasn't the case at all. It wasn't the glasses that was really turning me away from all these women. It was my confidence and how I presented myself and how I held myself. So at the point of having glasses, I was just thought I was this nerdy dude, and I took them off, and I clearly behaved different. And that is actually the basis of everything that I teach in my coaching program and on my channel. Is everything has to do with behavior, and that holds the most weight. Of course, you have to look good, and those things are very important, and money and status are definitely important, but they don't hold as much weight as behavior. Ideally, you want to do it all. But I digress. Let's go back to, your original question was, so where did it kind of take me from there? So then I ended up, your question was, yeah, YouTube. So what happens there? So now I'm cut to, oh, hold on. Okay. Then you asked, I want to answer all your
It was
questions.
like a 3-point question.
Yeah, it was a 3-point question. So
I do
we'll get to
that
YouTube in a second.
sometimes.
So, okay, the game. So the game, I read it. It just kind of blew my mind. It was very similar to a lot of other guys. Like I had a very generic, basic experience where a lot of other guys, they just heard about it and read it and like, whoa, it was crazy. It wasn't like some guy handed it to me or told me, dude, you're going to meet so many more women this way. Or I was seeking, I need to figure out a way to meet women. Wow, I found a solution. There's this book. It literally landed on my lap. And it was like, oh, this is a fun story. This guy's meeting girls, and you should read it. And I was like, oh, that sounds kind of interesting. And then I read it, and it was a whole different reaction than I thought I was going to have based on reading this book. It wasn't just an interesting story and a fun read, which of course it was, but it was showing me that, hey, there might be an opportunity here for me to do better with women. And then that's when I was just completely changed in terms of how my reality shifted. Remember I said a bit ago, my reality wasn't even you could fix anything. You had it, you didn't. You were good looking or you weren't. Good looking guys got the girl. Guys who were not good looking didn't get the girls they wanted. They kind of had to settle. That was it. So now new reality shift. Then now we can cut to the YouTube channel. So what was your question? Like my journey through YouTube and how I kind of
because you mentioned that you started with the podcast, and then you and your partner decided not to do that anymore. So how did that segue into YouTube? Because as I mentioned in the introduction, you've been on YouTube for a while, and I know the YouTube game has changed quite a bit. So walk us through that journey.
So actually, I have my channel called Trip Advice, And Trip Advice is my second YouTube channel. I actually had a first YouTube channel, which is now removed because I removed it. It was when I didn't understand business and marketing. So when the podcast ended and I decided, hey, let's move to YouTube, I want to do something on YouTube, I started a channel that was about dating and getting men help with dating, but it was a sketch show. It was a show where it had different sketches and there was different themes. So first, fade in, open Trip. Hey, this is Trip from the Social Rules. I called it the Social Rules. There was a theme of every episode. I gave a tip, and then it would cut to me on the street interviewing people. Then it would cut to a segment I called "Here's the Deal," where I had two actors give advice about like men and women and their experiences with men and women. And it was also a show that was supposed to be entertaining for men and women. Then I had this funny skit. I still laugh. It's so ridiculous. I had this one skit where I would teach guys sex positions to get them better at sex. But I would have on the screen two Barbies, like a Barbie Ken and a Barbie, doing the position, and then I had a voiceover lady with an English accent, really like in a regal tone, describe the sex position so people can learn the sex position. So it's this interesting juxtaposition between there's two Barbies on the screen, but then there's this elegant woman talking in an English accent and in describing the sex scene. So it's just supposed to be kind of funny, but also informative.
Reminds me of the marionettes on Team America, that sex scene.
Totally. Almost just like that. It was.
Oh, that's hilarious.
I know, it's very funny. So I did 20 episodes of this, and let me tell you, 20 episodes, it took me, I did everything. I produced it, I was in it, I casted it, I edited every single thing. I really got pretty good at editing after doing 20 episodes of this, and each episode was only 10 minutes, but it was very, to my degree, highly produced, and it was just bombing. Okay. No one was watching it. It was just nothing. Dead. It was dead. And I thought to myself, okay, I can keep going with this. It's a lot of work to produce these videos, and we're just not getting any traction. Or I can kind of do what other people are doing on YouTube now, which at that time was people talking kind of like we are right now in front of a camera, looking at the camera, giving advice. And I decided to go that route. And I learned a little bit more about YouTube marketing, where I was like, okay, I guess I just got to cut all the BS and just give direct advice, no skits, no Barbie and Ken sex positions, and just keep it right to the point. And so I started that channel, completely just removed the social rules. And I ended up getting a little bit of traction, definitely more traction than I did with the other one, but it still wasn't really moving. And then I ended up getting on a webinar. I don't even know if webinars are really a big thing anymore, but I was on a webinar where a guy who taught how to blog had someone on as a guest to talk about how to start a YouTube channel for a small business. And I was on that webinar as a free webinar, and the guy was selling his course. It was a $97 course on here's how you build a YouTube channel for a small business. I go, well, this is nice. I'm a small business. $100. Let's get this thing. So I buy it and I go through the entire course. I don't know how long it was, maybe 6 or 8 hours long. And I did every single thing that the course taught me to do on YouTube. A lot of it was SEO based. So making videos, that people would be searching for. Yep. And I didn't really love that idea because I was a little stubborn. It's like, well, I don't want to do video titles based on what people are searching for. I want to make the videos I want to make. I want to talk
I have
about
that challenge too.
Yeah. I had a really big challenge around that until one of the videos, by the way, guys, if you can hear me, let me know if I'm still cracking or if it sounds okay. One of the videos was called How to Get a Girl to Like You, started to blow up. And it got to like 10,000 views. That's a lot for a new channel when I was getting maybe like 400 or 500 views. And so I
Yep.
go, oh, okay, so this works. And then boom, one after another, I was just cranking out content on keywords and search terms. And I just was a maniac with it. And that's what I was doing all day long for several years. And I became obsessed with YouTube. I mean, I still am. The landscape has changed quite a bit, but that's how I ended up growing the channel to get to this point. And I remember too, it was such a long journey. It felt like, I mean, 10 years is a long time. That's a decade, right? To get to 1 million subscribers. And I remember when I was like 100,000 and that million was so far away. And I was like, I'm going to get there. Whatever I have to do, I'm going to get there. And here we are. And it's an amazing feat. And now I'm at the point where I don't really have a subscriber goal in mind. Like, it's not like, okay, now let's get 2 million or whatever. Now I'm just focused on kind of where I was 10 years ago. I want to just keep creating content that guys want to see. And you know, every 3 or 4 years that changes on YouTube. So, you know, at first, what was really hot, what I was doing in 2012, 2013, was what's called the infinite white background. So if you remember the old Apple commercials,
Yep.
infinite white was the white behind them that looked like infinite, like it looked like it could go forever. And there was a way to make that happen when you filmed the video. And so that was really hot. There was a lot of people who were just doing white background, infinite white video background videos and talking to the camera and giving advice. That was hot back then. And then, you know, since then, every 3 to 4 years, things change. Vlogs started to become really popular. You know, who is it? Casey Neistat, who really was.
Yeah, he blew up that.
Yeah, he blew up vlogs. I did vlogs for a little bit. So I'm always just interested in making videos, the types of videos that people want to see. So my stubbornness left the building in 2013 when I finally decided, you know what, marketing, business, social media, it's all about reaching an audience and not being stuck in your own ways and learning about what do people want and connecting what you have as an expertise to what people want. And that's what's going to get you to, you know, build a big social media platform, business, whatever it is. That's marketing in a nutshell.
I'm actually just getting to that point right now where, as you mentioned, like, okay, you start off, you want to have good conversations, interesting people, talk about things you want to talk about. Now, looking at the analytics, and I don't know if you came across this too. There's certain videos you'll do, like, oh, this is really good, and then it's just a dud. And then other ones, you're like, I'll just do a clip from this live stream I did a couple weeks ago, and it blows up. And you're like, well, I don't even remember talking about that subject, but people like those topics. So I'm starting to do that too. Dig into the analytics and starting to identify some thematic elements that people really enjoy. And it's not necessarily what I enjoy, but I do have an expertise on it. Like I live in Mexico City, so people like my Mexico videos. People like my fat to fit videos. I used to be obese, and now I'm very much not obese. So people are kind of interested in that journey. So it's funny you say that. I'm going through that exact activity right now. Like, all right, I need to start making content that people actually want to hear. As much as I love getting on here and chatting with my buddies about these topics, I don't have the audience yet to where people are going to sit and listen for 3 hours as we break things down comprehensively.
Yeah, totally. It's it's an interesting game. I mean, it was actually way more predictable 8 years ago. I
That's what
knew.
I've heard.
Yeah, I knew, like, based on the title, based on the topic, I would know if a video was going to do well, and I was right 8 out of 10 times. You know, let's go, okay, if I do a video on this topic, it's going to blow up. It's going to be really good. If I do a video on this topic, okay, I want to do this video and it's important information. I know it's not going to be a big one, but like, I just want to put it out there. And I was right. Now, you just don't know. You just never know. I mean, like, I'm on TikTok too, and I'm on Instagram Reels, and sometimes I'll make. Well, this doesn't happen anymore. I've learned my lesson. I no longer predict anything. But yeah, for a long time, it's like I'd put out this video being like, this one was kind of shitty, but like I liked it, and I put it out, blows up. Oh, that one blew up. Or one that I'm like, this is gonna kill. I put so much effort into it, so much work into it. The information's great. It's gonna help guys. It's edited really nicely. It looks good, and then it just bombs. And it's just like, what? How did that happen? So at this point, it's just about making the best content you can and helping whoever you need to help. or if you're just someone who's entertaining and not an expert, a guru, or anything like that, then making the most entertaining videos that you can, and really listening to the data and analytics, because that's going to tell you what people are watching.
Yeah, I've noticed with some of mine, I had one a couple weeks ago. I said like some woman just like to F, and then I did like the eggplant emoji and a flame. I knew
Yeah,
that video was going to do well out the gate. The thumbnail is one of my better thumbnails. My click through rate is way up there compared to the rest of my videos. So I knew when I posted, like, hell yeah, this one's going to break out my channel. It did immediately, like boom, spiked way up in views, and then YouTube must have caught it and just capped it. It's just not, it's not getting any impressions anymore.
yeah.
So I think you said the landscape has changed. Has it changed in a way? Have you noticed that with some of your videos where ones that would have traditionally performed well, they don't perform well anymore? Because I've heard that from other content creators kind of in the dating space, that there's certain words you have to avoid using, certain topics or attitudes you have to avoid communicating on the platform.
Well, it's tough because a lot of my content that has millions of views is related to sex or something
Mhm.
related to that. But again, if I put that out now, if I put out a video that gives advice in that area, it will definitely do better than my other content because sex
Mhm.
sells, right? That's just the name of the game.
Yep.
But again, there's still no guarantee there. It really all depends. But I try to stay away, yeah, from, I mean, like there's some words like you don't want to say. Like for example, even on a live stream I did last week, instead of saying, uh, well, I would say corn, like watching corn,
Yep.
instead of the P version of that.
Yep.
Like I don't know about YouTube, but like I know on TikTok and Instagram, if you don't want to like write out the word sex in a caption, instead you write segs, seggs. So if anyone's
Yeah,
ever
I did
seen
something like
that,
that. I put the three in there, I think. Oh no, I
yeah,
used the
the
F
the
word and I put the
three,
star for the U. Yeah.
yeah, just like
Or,
you don't know what's gonna happen these days. Like YouTube, they censor people, they kick people out. I mean, um, there were some channels in the dating advice arena of guys who would put out pickup videos of infield videos, and some of those guys got taken down.
mhm.
And you know, I mean,
It has to be a two-party consent state. Is it something like that?
I mean, yeah, that's I don't know if that's the reason why they would remove people, because I don't know. I guess even then, I think people were able to edit it and blur out people's faces, but you just don't know. So you just got to be more careful. And it's tough to be on one of the biggest platforms in the world that doesn't seem to be going anywhere. Everyone talks about getting on Rumble, and listen, I'm on Rumble too,
Mhm.
but nothing's happening. Let's just be real for a second. Like everyone's still on YouTube, so you got to
Yeah.
play the game, unfortunately. And I wish it could be something like Rumble, but it's just not.
Rumble doesn't have the user base yet. I've started syncing some of my more recent streams to Rumble, and actually, I'm getting twice as many views on Rumble as I am on YouTube. So I'm like, all right, has my channel been throttled or shadow banned? But
That's
I'm I'm coming up with a new strategy to where I'm going to get in like the social media, start doing like the clips and reels type game, kind of give my channel a break because my channel is mostly longer form content. Start doing the shorter form on other platforms, get my reach out there, and then funnel people through to the longer form stuff. I think that's kind of the approach I'm going to focus on for now. But I've been a digital marketer my whole career for at the corporate level, so it is really fun, kind of trying to play around and figuring something out. I use the analogy. It's like you're in a traffic jam, and then you're just waiting, waiting, waiting. All of a sudden, you get some straightaway. You accelerate, and then boom, you have the next traffic jam. You're like, all right, and it seems like that's kind of the game, but it's kind of fun at the same time.
Listen, man, everything is consistency. Everything in life is consistency. Doesn't matter what you're doing. There are people who are going to blow up overnight. That is the exception to the rule. Yeah, you can go viral, all those things. You can get good spikes on your channel, social media, and those are great. Those are going to help you. But
Mhm.
don't ever look at those exceptions of the people who are blowing up, because that's just going to happen, right? That's just the natural
Yep.
way that things are going to go in every area, right? You're going to get a few outliers of people that will blow up and it will grow fast. You got some people that are going to just grow slow, but you'll never get there if you don't continuously put out content and just or do whatever, you know what I mean? Even if it's working out or health or losing weight. Like I bet you there's people, I don't know much about this, but I guarantee there's people who lose weight easier, gain muscle easier. You know, they just have whatever they
Yep.
call it. If you want to call it genetics or just they figured it out, they're doing it right. But if you're doing something consistently, you'll get there. And so it really takes grit and patience. And
Mhm.
by the way, I know it's like I've been doing this for a long time. I still feel like it's brand new. Every day I've been treating it like I just started. Like I'm always trying to get more views. I'm trying to get uh more subscribers. I'm trying to build things. I haven't lost that drive,
Mhm.
so to speak. We'll see what happens where I'm at in 10 or 15 years, but today I still want it more than ever. And I'm still passionate about all the information that I talk about. And if I have to talk about avoiding the friend zone and how to get a girl to like you and how to be good in the bedroom for another 20 years, like I'll do it, you know. It's to me I just want to be able to help as many guys as possible and grow my channels as far as possible just because I believe so much in what I teach and I've seen it work and it's like I just want to get it into many hands as possible. That means I got to continuously change the way I'm filming a video and up the quality and start vlogging or start doing this and that. Like I'm just going to do it, you know? So consistency has all, excuse me, has always worked for me,
Mhm.
you know? And I think the people who win and get to the finish line or start to become successful and see a lot of traction in whatever they're doing are just the ones who are the most patient.
Yeah. And I think that ties in nicely with dating. That's why I like the dating topics too, because you, I've always felt like in my experience that okay, you get really good at one area. You're like, all right, now I can get phone numbers, or I can cold approach a girl, I can get a phone number, but I can't get her on a date. So you got to figure out the logistics. Okay, I can get her on a date now. Oh, I can get her laughing. I can get her touching. Oh, now I can get her back to the house. Then you get to a point like I don't even have to take her on a date. She'll come straight to the house. Okay, cool. When did that happen? And but there's always new levels, and then you get to the point like all right, I got this down. Like I'm not really getting as much satisfaction out of it anymore. And then one of my buddies, he's like, hey man, I noticed you got this down. Can you help me out? And then you get to start that whole process over and then see your results through someone else. And you're like, ooh, unlock a new level. And that's why I've always enjoyed the dating topic. I'm approaching the content and business type topics with the same lens, but in terms of dating, so you've mentioned that since you've gotten in like the YouTube game, that things have changed considerably. How has modern dating changed? I know things like, for example, I think Tinder didn't come out until like 2012. For me, Tinder changed the game. You're like, oh wow, like now I can get chicks like that. Whereas before on the college campus, it was cold approach, and you had to like text back and forth. Even before smartphones, you had the T9 text. I remember I'd send out like a T9 text, and it had a character limit, and I'd send it to multiple numbers, and then at one point I sent out the T9 text to all the girls I was prospecting, and then it showed up. It showed the number of all the girls sent, and I got text like, "Hey, what the hell are you doing?" That no one announced that they would send the numbers of the group text at one point. So technology has kind of changed the game too. So, what's been your experience in terms of how dating's evolved and the state of modern dating?
Yeah, I mean, I think dating apps is the thing that's changed everything. I think if there's one thing that really has changed how we are dating between now and the past, I don't know, forever, it's dating apps. I think dating would be and have been the same if apps didn't exist. So, what happened in 2012 when Tinder came out was very interesting. So, from then until even now, it has made things easier, but it's also made things harder. So, yeah, some guys were able to be like, "Oh, great, dude! I'll just start a profile, get on an app, and then voila, I'm getting dates, no problem." But then there's a sector of guys who I run into all the time now who that is still an issue for them. So dating apps are not the solution for them.
It's a
And
digital marketing platform, is how I always tell guys.
yes, exactly. And if you don't know how to market yourself correctly, you're not going to do well. So your average guy who doesn't really know what they're doing on dating apps is very frustrated. And there's information out there. I teach it. I have a course on it. I have coaching on it that can help guys. But, if your average guy that doesn't even think to look up dating advice or look any of this stuff up, as much as someone said here, it is one of the most Googled things. They might just completely suffer and not be able to get a date. And then they're not going out and talking to women either. So now there's a lot of men who are very lonely, who are not able to get dates. There's a lot of guys who they are decent looking dudes. They do well. They make good money. They would be considered a catch, but they're getting flaked on by girls left and right. They're doing online dating apps and they're getting matches, but then the girls never want to meet up. So what the hell is going on? Well, dating apps have really put women in it's not just dating apps, it's social media as well, has put women now in a position where they have so many options that they become more selective. Who wouldn't become more selective if you have that many options, right?
I've gotten that way as a guy over the years, refining these little things here and there. I get inbound offers all day long, so I can really just kind of. I always say my approach is to qualify or disqualify as fast as possible. But it used to not be that way. I was your average guy on the dating app, like, okay, yeah, I do all right in real life, so I assumed I do well in real life. Ergo, that should translate to the online environment. No, it does not. But now that I've got a whole system set up, it's kind of the same thing. And I find myself thinking this a lot. Like I get how girls think now. When you have multiple options, you can be more selective, and it's actually kind of a nice position to be in.
Yeah, it's a great position to be in. And at default, men are not in that position. So at default, men are in scarce mindset, and not even just mindset, scarce reality. And at default, women are in an abundance when it comes to dating, right? So most men, even if you are a good-looking dude, and you do well with women, you still won't get approached even as close as many times as, let's say, a woman to your same level would, right? So if you're a dude who's like a 9, okay, you might get a little bit hit on, maybe a little bit, maybe not at all, but maybe a little bit. A woman who's a 9 will get hit on all day, online, offline, right? And so there's a comment that came in. I want to talk about that for a second.
Yeah, let's do this, Jake. LOL for women. It's tons of shitty options, though. Hard to wrap your head around.
Okay, so yeah, I agree. So whoever you are, if you're a man with a lot of options and a woman with a lot of options, it's a lot of shitty options. You have to filter. Yep. So you have to get good at the skill set of filtering. But I don't feel bad for women. When women say, but all the options are no good, it's like, listen,
your standards are too high.
What's the problem? What's the problem? But you have options, so someone's good in there. But for a guy, he's at default scarcity. So that means that because it's step 1, step 2, step 3, right? Step 1, you need to have options. Step 2, you need to filter through the options. Actually, there's really 2 steps. I guess step 3 might be, what happens when you get into a relationship. But step 1, have options. Step 2, filter. If we want to really simplify it. Step 1 is really hard to get to if you don't have all the options, right? You have to do a lot of work as a man to get those options. You have to have a really good career. You have to be good looking. If you're tall, great, but not every guy is that tall. If you're really charismatic and very social, great, you'll have more options, but not every guy is like that. So it's a lot of work for most guys to get to the point where we can say, okay, now I have a lot of options. It's not impossible to get there, but you can get there. And then step 2 is just as hard. It's hard for everybody, right? Now we got to filter because there's a lot of shitty people out there, and we got to find the women or the men that are going to be a good fit for us.
Yeah, I think that's a great summation. And again, guys out there that are in that scarcity mindset, I get guys in my comments all the time. It's almost unbelievable, but then eventually they do the right things. They get to that point, and then they're like, okay. And then there's a new step. There's a new milestone. Like, okay, I'm getting tons of matches now. How do I filter them? And then, Okay, I filter them now. Like, what do I do logistics wise for the first date? Okay, how do I manage a first date? So there's always a learning curve, which again for me personally, I find that quite fun. But I do understand guys where it can get frustrating. I have guys jump my DMs all the time, like, hey, where did I go wrong in this text conversation? And it's like some chick that lives 3 states over that has never even showed the guy a picture, and then he's asking her for money. Like, is this a scam? That indicates to me that this guy has very few options, because when
Yeah.
those come in, I live in Mexico City. So, for example, whenever I get a match with like a really attractive Chinese girl, I always ask myself, do I see these people out and about? The answer is no. So, like, they're always it's always some Bitcoin scam or some kind of weird thing. So, I know how to mentally filter that out. But for guys that never get matches, they're like, ooh, oh my God. And they DM me like, hey, where'd I go wrong here? I was like, dude, it's not even a real chick. Like, you're talking with the
Yeah.
bot right there.
Listen, there's a really easy way to filter that, by the way. If guys are struggling with like, is this a scam? Is this a bot? So here's how you'll know. Very simple. One, just see if they're willing to meet up with you without sending them any money. If they're willing to meet
Yeah.
up with you and you don't have to send them any money or send them anything at all, then 9 times out of 10, you're good. The 1 time out of 10 is maybe it's a catfish. So maybe it just doesn't look like the girl that you thought it was, but no person scamming you will want to meet up with you. It's that simple. So that's how you filter there.
Yep. My favorite are the reverse catfishes, which in the US I never really got those. In Mexico I get those, where you'll see the girl, you're like, all right, yeah, she's good enough. She meets my minimum threshold, and I have nothing else going on tonight, and she's willing to come over. So yeah, let's go ahead and meet up. And then she gets out of the cab. You're like, oh my God, this girl's amazing. I do have that happen every now and then, which is a very pleasant surprise.
Oh, reverse catfish. I love that. That's the best.
Yeah, so I have a comment here from Saul Gray. I agree with Jaron that a lot of women's standards are too high or very unrealistic. And, I think
Yeah.
a lot of guys' standards are too high too. Do you want to possibly comment on that?
Yeah, for sure. So I agree with you that women's standards are high. I was actually going to get to that point too,
Mhm.
so because you have a lot of choice as a woman, then your standards get really high because you have so many options. And then what happens? Well, then it's hard to choose, and then you flake on everybody and you don't really pick anybody. And then what happens as you get older is your standards continue to get higher. But as a woman, her sexual market value goes down as she gets older. So as a woman gets older, she has less options, but her standards are so high. That disconnect right there causes a lot of problems for men and women. And then men's standards are too high. I disagree with that. I don't think men's standards are too high at all. I mean, yeah, I think maybe like a few people, but generally speaking, I talk to men all day long who are coaching clients, and none of them come to me who are like, I want to get like Victoria's Secret model type, super 10. They'll show me girls that they're after, and to me, I'm like, all right, that girl, I don't know, she's okay, but whatever. That doesn't matter to me, right? It matters what he wants. And so I have guys that they just want a girl that they think is cute, that is sweet,
Yep.
that is feminine, that's not going to cause them, not going to cause a lot of issues, and doesn't bring drama into their life. Men's standards don't even compare.
On second thought, yeah, I think I misspoke there, because going back through conversations I've had with my coaching clients or guys here locally that I help out, yeah, it's kind of the same thing. I'll have guys send me screenshots like, hey, I just met this girl. She's amazing. And I see the picture of him and the girl. I'm like, ooh, like I'd never consider dating her. But for this guy, he's like, high five. Thank you so much. They're so happy. They're so thrilled. And I think you're right. A lot of guys, they just want companionship. You mentioned they're lonely. They live this isolated lifestyle. They just want someone to share it with. So a lot of times that's more than good enough for them.
Yeah, they want a girl who's 3 states away, who wants money from
Yeah,
them.
right. Yeah, I get those DMs all the time. Is this girl real? I'm like, bro, I don't think so.
Yeah.
In terms of those topics, when I did make the statement, I think guys' standards are too high. I think I was probably referring to like a lot of online conversations. So I'm sure you've seen this. You'll get guys in the comment like, "Oh, that girl's not cute. That girl's not hot," or oh, you're not an alpha. Yeah, you don't seem alpha. You must be beta. So this gets in the topic of like the manosphere type things. And I think I've seen you on other content creators' channels, kind of like longer form interview. I've appreciated your content because you don't get into the drama or the nonsense there. And a lot of that turns me off too, personally. Like there's guys that I'll watch their videos. I'm like, wow, they have a really good idea that I'd like to expand upon. And then they do a hit piece on someone. I'm like, well, damn it, I don't want to get involved in that stuff. So what's your take on kind of the manosphere, for lack of a better word? And do you think it's potentially helpful or harmful for guys, or maybe somewhere in between?
I mean, it's tough. It is somewhere in between. I think there's a lot of good things from the manosphere that you could learn. I think there's a lot of great concepts in Red Pill. Red Pill teaches you the reality of how the world really is, especially with men and women, and how women think and how men think. Um, but everything in moderation, right? If you go too down the rabbit hole and you start to get into, like, I don't know, MGTOW and black pill, and it starts to get to this place where you start to just like hate women, and now you're just furious you're so mad at how women date and just female nature, and then you just totally give up, and it can get really dark. And
Yeah.
so I think where I come in is I like to marry the concepts of, let's just understand the reality, or red pill, I guess, as you want to say it. Let's understand the reality of what do women want and how do they react to a man, and let's become that guy, and let's be the guy that's going to be more attractive to women. And so I'm in the camp of, guys come over and are attracted to my work and my channel because there's guys out there that want to meet women, and they want to have relationships, and they want to have casual relationships, and some of them want to get married, and they want to have kids, and they're still very interested in being with women and having women. I think that's great, and so I want to be there to teach them. But yeah, it does get a little messy. I mean, it's really interesting. I get entertained by, I'm not going to name any names because to be meta here for this sole purpose, like it's interesting how there's a storyline happening in the manosphere with all the
It's like
people, and
WWF is what I say.
yes, dude.
There's character
Wow.
arcs.
That is great. I'm gonna use that wherever that makes sense. It's so true.
Oh, good. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting too. You bring that up, and I have thoughts where sometimes I'm thinking, is there what's being staged here?
Mhm.
I think most of it's real, but is there anything that's being staged? Is there any or I think we know for a fact there's drama that happens in this manosphere, and then people capitalize on it, and let's do a video on this and talk about this and what happened with this person, and this person got released from here, and this person did this.
The,
You know what I mean? And listen, it's great. More power to all of them. It's entertaining for me, and
the hit pieces are funny. I always say, like, I'm such a small channel. Like I know I'm relevant when people start doing hit pieces on me, and I'm looking forward to it because they're
oh,
quite
for
funny.
sure, for sure. I've gotten them. It's just like, yeah, I mean, if that's the way you want to go in your business and you want to just do hit pieces, that's fine. I've
I
seen
don't do that
some
personally. I
people.
like ideas. I like
Well,
ideas rather than talk
I'm
about
not.
people.
I'm here to. I'm here to like help people. I'm not here to
Uh-huh.
trash people or get involved in drama. Like, I wake up in the morning and I'm all about, how do I help men get women?
Mhm.
So what do I need to do that? And when I start going down this path of getting involved in drama or starting making videos on those topics, it starts to really steer away from the vision. And listen, I'm guilty. I've done some videos where I'm like, is this really like helping men, or is this more just fun and entertaining and
Mhm.
whatever? Okay. But I don't want that to be the core of what I do because, again, I don't care what anyone else does, but I care what I do, and I care if I'm aligned with my mission. And if guys want to meet girls, they want to get laid, they want to get into relationships, I'm here to help them do that. And I want to stay on that path as much as I can.
I think that's a good way to sum it up. Yeah, I don't ever go after people, but I go after certain ideas. So you'll get like a lot of these tradcon ideas where guys are like, "Oh, you should never date a girl that has tattoos or has an OnlyFans. Or you should never date a girl that you meet at a nightclub in Las Vegas." Like, okay, what's your goal? And a lot of guys don't identify that, or they assume their goals should be everyone's goals. Like, I'm not looking to get married. If I meet a girl in Las Vegas at a music festival, then yeah, that's fine. We can have a good weekend fling, and I've done that before, and it's actually quite fun. But that doesn't mean I'm going to take her home to meet my mom and grandparents and start putting kids in her. So I think a lot of guys, when they start getting into these dating spaces, they have this ideal, this higher ideal that they hold that they assume applies to everyone. And then a lot of these same guys, they don't even really have a goal set. They're like okay, well, I need the virgin bride. I'm like, dude, you're not even getting matches on Tinder yet. Let's take a step back and start looking at this.
Right. It's also just not realistic to get the Virgin Bride unless you want to go to Europe. So you can do Passport Bro if you want, but more power to you if you want to do Passport Bro stuff. I should do a video on this. But it's just
Those
not.
videos do
It's
well
not.
for me. The passport bros.
Do they? Okay.
Yeah.
It's not real. It's not realistic. How many guys can really actually do that? You know what I'm saying? So again, more power to you if you do that. If you have a lifestyle where you're able to go and do that, and that's what you want, go do it. That I don't care, right? If that works for you, and and that accomplishes your goal of getting the woman that you want, great. But for your average guy who works at, Dunder Mifflin and is in, sales in a paper company in the middle of wherever, that guy, you think he's going to do Passport Bro? No. How? When? I mean, like, if unless he's like completely changes his life, how many guys really want to do that? Well, I have another solution for you. Learn how to be the most attractive version of yourself and filter for women. All American women suck and modern women suck. Yeah, listen, I agree. There's a lot of bad ones out there. But you're telling me that they're all that bad? They're not. You just have to learn, like you were saying, you have to
Yeah.
learn how to filter, right? And so, yeah, I'll even say this. You can meet a girl at a nightclub. Now, is it the best place to go meet your next girlfriend? Probably not. But if you
It'll
go
probably
to a
be a
nightclub,
fling. She's in that mindset too.
yeah. But how many girls have who are not nightclub goers or girls who like party and do a bunch of drugs and go to the bar every weekend? How many girls are there that say, I want to let loose and go on one night out. I want to go on one night out with my friends. Like every girl you'll ever meet has gone to a club once.
Yeah, of
So
course.
you might end up going to a club and you might meet that girl that night who just her friends dragged her out and they're just having like a fun night out. So I don't know. I think that wherever there can be volume is a great place to either practice or you can meet a woman.
Dating apps are the same thing. I'll get guys like never meet girls on dating apps. They're all trash. At least where I live, there's a lot of girls like, hey, like I was in a 7-year long-term relationship, never even considered it. My friend told me to try it out, got on there, I met you, talked to some other guys that were kind of weird, kind of not feeling it, but I want to keep seeing you. I've met tons of girls like that, and you can tell once you get them face to face, like this girl is not a pro carousel rider. So I think you get a lot of warped views sometimes in the space. Or I get guys that accuse me of the passport bro thing. I was like, I lived down here 20 years ago before smartphones were a thing. I moved to Mexico before Facebook was a thing. So I studied abroad for years and I played ball down here. So for me, it got to the point where like, well, I kind of want to live like a more chill lifestyle. Where do I go? I already know how to live in Mexico. I've already done that before. And I see guys, a lot of foreigners that they'll see the passport bro type videos and you see them come and go. They'll come down and like they're kind of awkward at first. They think that, okay, by virtue of being a certain race of a certain nationality, I'm going to get laid. And like, yeah, you can with lower quality chicks, but a lot of times it's not that satisfying. Or a lot of the locals that they don't have the cultural aspect down. They don't have the linguistic aspect down. So a lot of people look at them like weirdos. They can't get the girls they do want to get. And they realize, hey, I was doing better in my home country, and they eventually go. Or they don't have reliable foreign sourced income. So they're usually here for 3 months or less and they end up taking off. But I hear that time and time again, guys like, oh, I'm just going to go to this country and get laid like crazy and have this awesome life. Most of them come and go. Most of them make no effort to learn Spanish. And I'll tell you what, if you live in Mexico and don't speak Spanish, you're just not going to have a good time unless you want to be in the
Yeah.
gringo bubble. But if you're going to be in the gringo bubble, why'd you leave home? You have a much bigger bubble in California. Just go back to LA.
Everything, dude, is filtering. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
That is the real skill set. You had a comment in here. Someone says,
Yeah, is
you
this the
know,
men's standards?
yeah, like I agree. Like, yeah, you need to have standards for sure. Are men's standards too low? They might be. Yeah, they might be at times. Of course, Your standards, again, default scarcity. Your standards naturally are going to be lower when you can't really get much. So you want to learn how to be able to get more options, and then you learn how to filter. And that way, you know what to do, right? That way you can look for those red flags very quickly. I teach something called the 3 non-negotiables. You have your 3 non-negotiables, and you go for it. Now, I'll be honest, it's not easy. It's work. You got to do all the things you can do to be the most attractive version of yourself. You got to go on a lot of dates to meet the woman that's going to be a good fit. Doesn't happen overnight, but you put in a solid year of work, you can get there.
You notice that too. You start to get it where you have an idea in your head, like, well, maybe I'm not doing this well. Or I always tell guys, like, tell really good stories rather than doing like the resume, like, oh, well, where do you work? Where are you from? What did you study in college? Have some really good stories queued up that have information density where you can take her along on an emotional ride and she can make these inferences for you. But you do that enough times, like you don't have to, like I'm at the point now, I don't even have to think about it. You'll notice like it's kind of like it's like marketing and sales too. When you do just your basic objections and then you write like sales scripts how to overcome objections, most of them are about the same. Like 90% of them are the same. So you have these things queued up and then it just becomes automatic. And I got to that point in my dating experience where it was okay, all of a sudden it wasn't really me learning new skills. It was me getting out of my own way of letting go negative mindsets or negative experiences from my past and just being in the moment. And then you notice almost immediately that the quality of girls that start coming into your life, that they start coming into your radar and you're like, oh, okay, wow, this is working quite well for me. And I think that's when you truly get to the abundance mindset. Sometimes I don't like the term mindset because how do you have an abundance mindset when you don't have actual abundance? But when you
It's
do
really
have
hard.
actual
Yeah, you
abundance,
can't. You can't.
it,
Yeah.
it makes it really fun. You're like, all
Yeah.
right, like if I want to date a lot, I can, or if I want to take a few weeks off, I can. But like once you get that skill set down, it's something, it gives you a lot of confidence in life. You're like, okay, well, I don't ever have to worry about this problem again. And I Trip, I'm like you. I want all guys to get there because it makes life a lot more colorful, a lot more fun, a lot more enjoyable, and it spills over into other areas of your life too.
Yeah. Yep. 100%.
So here I've got some more questions here. So here's a term, and I know it was more kind of trending a couple of years ago, but I still hear it come up every now and then. Or again, you'll get like red pill content creators where they'll do the hit videos of like, oh, look at this dumb chick on TikTok, like she's trash. I'm like, okay, yeah, this poor girl who has mental issues, and you're making fun of her publicly. But the term hitting the wall, what exactly does that mean, and what does that mean more so for men?
I mean, I'm not really the best person to speak to this, but from what I know, hitting the wall is usually when a woman gets to the age of like 28 to like 30 years old, or maybe even early 30s, where a woman, it's really just when a woman loses uh, her her sexual market value. So she just
Yep.
loses a lot of that value. And the problem is kind of what I was saying earlier is women who do hit the wall, that's at a point where they're their most selective and they have to be
Yep.
less selective. When you have little options, you can't be as selective. Well, you can be. You can do whatever you want, but you have to understand the reality of what happens after that, right? The reality of being in a low sexual market value and having little options, being
Mhm.
selective, you just won't get anywhere. That's just how it works.
Yeah, I think there definitely is a disconnect there that guys run into issues with, which leads me to my next question. What are some major dating mistakes that guys make for like the average guy out there who just can't get it figured out? Like, what are the steps to start taking right now to overcome some of these mistakes that he may be making, which oftentimes it's unbeknownst to them?
Yeah, for sure. So in online dating, the biggest mistake is just having crappy photos.
Mhm.
It's crazy what a good photo can do and how much it's going to change. Now, there are some guys who do change their photos and they still don't get results. So that leads to the next mistake. You're relying only on online dating to meet women. And the guys who are just relying on online dating to meet women have potentially have a very low amount of options. So if you are just relying on the so-called easy way out, that's maybe not getting you anywhere, you have to go to the part that's a little bit more harder, but I believe is really fun. And I think that it's kind of, I hope, and maybe I'm just imagining it. I'm secretly hoping that like cold approach and meeting women in person is like maybe having a resurgence or coming back,
I think so.
because
I think it is.
it feels like it. I don't know. It feels like it, or we're about to hit it, just because online dating just kind of sucks, and it can suck if you just don't know what you're doing. So, well, let me take that back. Online dating does not suck. If you know how to work it, it can be amazing, but you are missing out on a lot of opportunities that are out there, and not just opportunities for meeting more women, but the opportunity of personal growth is amazing,
Mhm.
because cold approach is one of the hardest things a man can do.
It is. You got to get
I,
out of your own head. It's like 1, 2, 3, go. Otherwise, you'll still
yeah,
get those voices like, "Oh, am I good enough for her?" And I know a lot of guys that like the foreigners down here. They're like, "Hey, like who wants to go day game together?" It's like I never do dedicated day game sessions. I go about my life, and then as I cross paths with women, and I look for IOIs too. So if she's looking you up and down, or her face is buried in her phone, and then she stops, she's like, "Whoa." Does a double take at you, I approach immediately, and that's where I find my best options. Just going about living my general life
yep,
because your paths cross, and I think compatibility is a big factor too. Again, if you just want to get the lay, like online dating is fantastic for that. Just have good photos, like you said. But in terms of like getting like more depth in a relationship, compatibility becomes a factor too. So if it's a girl who's in my neighborhood and she goes to the gym the same time I do, or if we go to the same grocery store and we have similar schedules, then it's really easy just to kind of start to mesh or merge into each other further down the line.
yeah, totally. Just a really, and if you really want to take it to the next level, go out alone and cold approach. Like that is, I mean, that is advanced level,
Or
because
night game sober. I tell guys to do that.
night game sober alone.
Yeah, that's a fun one.
And I mean, my biggest learning, I did some of my best nights were doing that. Uh, with learning, with results. I mean, and if you go out, if you just accomplish that, you just decide to go out and do it, and even if you get rejected like 10 times in a row, you are going to go home feeling good about yourself. I
Mhm.
guarantee it. You're going to be like, that was a tough night. I got rejected a lot, but at least you did it. And then if you end up getting a number or getting a lay from going out alone, sober at night, I mean, congrats, dude. Like you did something that most men will never do in their entire life, because
It gives
it's that challenging.
Yeah, it gives you confidence because you're having to define your identity in real time and calibrating based on external feedback, putting the best version of yourself forward, and then whether you
Yeah.
get the lay or you don't, it like building that muscle, it gives you a lot of confidence. And then you do get to the point where you start having success. You're like, now, okay, I have a solid sense of myself. I always say that with me, like I've always been me, but I know how to present myself in a way that is captivating and dynamic and gets the results I want. So it's calibrating yourself in a very certain way. And then once you get that down, it gives you a lot of confidence, and you do feel pretty damn good about yourself.
Yep, that you do. And then again, I always say, more importantly, because I don't want guys to be so focused on the results, is just like really taking the learning lessons of like what you could have done better. But honestly,
Mhm.
going out alone sober at night versus like going out alone or going out at night with a friend, it's the same thing, except in your mind, because
Mhm.
you should never really approach a group of girls with your friend. You should just be going and approaching alone, even if you're with a buddy. It just doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense to like go over like, "Hey, I'm Trip. This is Jaren. What's up, girl?" It's like doesn't
Yeah.
flow. Better to just, a guy sees a girl, whether she's alone with friends or whatever, he just goes up to that one girl and does the approach and starts a conversation with her, whether you're alone or not. So really, you're going to have the same type of night. It's not like,
Mhm.
oh man, my wingman's not here, it's going to like really affect how I attract these women. No, it's just mental, because you feel more comfortable that your friend is there, and you don't want to be sitting in the corner alone, or just like not knowing what to do, with your hands and in the middle of a place with you don't have anyone to talk to. So it can get kind of uncomfortable. As long as you get past that part, you're having the same exact type of night in terms of learning and the lessons and the theory and all that.
I've noticed like I've never been like a big bar, club, party, or whatever discotheque type guy, but I've noticed that when I get to the point, like, okay, I'm going to go out to these environments where there's a lot of people, not to necessarily get girls, but to advance my social skills and to make potential like business or professional connections. So when I go out to like a crowded, like a really high class nightclub, I'm meeting girls and guys. I'm working the room and I'm circulating and just trying to
Yeah.
feel out the entire social scene. I know like my game results have paid multiples in terms of dividends or returns by approaching it that way. Like, not that, okay, I gotta go out and get laid. Okay, well, that girl's cute, I gotta go talk to her. It's like, just go out like, hey, I'm feeling the vibe. I want to get to know kind of the lay of land here. Just meet interesting people, girl or guys, and then once it starts getting out there, like, hey, this guy's pretty cool, or what are you doing, or the alone thing too. I travel a lot, so like that's a really easy objection to overcome. Like, oh, you think in your head, oh, I must be a loser because I'm here alone. It's like, no, I just got into town. I have a conference, or I have a speaking engagement, or I have a client appointment, and I don't want to sit at home in a hotel by myself. So yeah, I'm just out here trying to meet cool people. What brings you out here? And then just genuinely trying to get to meet people. It gives you a lot more options that way, which that
Yeah.
was a major mindset shift for me. So, Trip, I know you got to start wrapping up here soon. So let's. Cold approach changed my whole life, business especially. Wouldn't have met you guys without developing the skill to reach out. Yeah, Joel's a good buddy of mine.
Yeah, Joel's the
Glenn
man.
Lawrence. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Joel was saying he knew you. Good points, Trip Kramer. So, Trip, I guess to wrap it up, one more question for you. So, guys out there watching right now, what's the one like takeaway or take home message for them to improve their dating life today? Like,
Yeah.
what's the biggest thing they can start doing that they might not be doing?
I think talking to way more women than you are right now. So whatever you're doing now, 10x it. So if you're doing online dating and you're not getting results and you're doing it only maybe 20 minutes per day, okay, we do it for an hour a day. Obviously, you want to change your profile too if it's really not working, but volume
Yeah,
helps.
you have to have matches.
Yeah, you do. Next is if you're not talking to any women, you need to start creating opportunities for you to do that. So whether that is going out at night alone or it's going to more social events, finding buddies that you can just go out with, joining leagues, things like that. The best thing you could do is putting yourself in more situations to be more social. You're going to learn more lessons going out and talking to women and just experiencing it than you will sitting at home thinking about it or maybe studying it. Not saying there's anything wrong. Obviously, I teach this stuff. I have a YouTube channel, Jaron, your YouTube channel, podcast, all that stuff. So obviously, we are pro getting information, but that's just not going to do much for you unless you're actually using it and going out there. And okay, so one more thing to be part of that is don't get into this perfectionist mindset where you have to learn everything. So when you first go out, you know you're utilizing everything to its best ability. You won't be able to do that. No matter how much you study and watch and listen and read and learn, it's just not going to happen. So the best thing you can do is take a few tips from a podcast like this, go out and utilize it. Take a few more tips from a video you see, go out and utilize it. You got to be using the information because that's where the biggest learning lessons come in to connect everything for you.
Yep, like one more comment. Going out to mingle and have fun is so much more enjoyable than going out with the express intent of getting laid. Yeah, and I think I remember those days when I was younger. You'd be like going out with your buddy, clinching the beer to the chest, like doing the rounds. You're like, okay, I'm gonna scope them out, and like, okay, got my eye on her, and then next round, okay, I'm gonna go talk to her. Girls can feel that stuff, but when you go out, you're like, hey, I'm just looking to have a good time and meet cool people. Who's on the same page? You're gonna have a lot more fun,
As
and you'll get a
long
lot
as you're
more options.
doing it, though, okay? Because
Yeah.
I get that. You got to be careful, Jake. I hear you, but if some guys will say that, and then they'll go out with their dudes and be like, "I'm just gonna have fun and like see what happens," and I'm all for that. But
Chick.
if that prevents you from going over and talking to women, well, then you just had a fun night and nothing really happened. So
Mhm.
if you can utilize that mindset, but combine that with making sure you're actually talking to women, great. Because I'll admit, I got in that trap when I was first learning this stuff where I'd be like, I'm just gonna go out and have fun and see what happens. And I go home, I didn't talk to one girl. Right. So you got to really make sure you're still at least being proactive.
Or you have too much fun, like you throw some shots back with your buddies, and then you're sloppy, and you can't, you just can't get anything going. I've had that happen where I get home, I'm like, wait, I made out with a really cute girl, and she was totally down to come home with me. What happened? Like, oh, I blacked out because I couldn't control my alcohol consumption. So, very rookie mistakes. Yeah, I didn't want to do any of that stuff. Trip, I want to thank you for stopping on by, and I know I got to take off here in a minute. Where can people find you? What are you up to, or what's your call to action for them, to use a marketing term?
Yeah, for sure. Well, if you're watching on YouTube, check me out. I got a YouTube channel. It's called Trip Advice. If you're listening to this in a podcast, you like podcasts, you can just completely binge my 730 episodes on your walks and runs and drives to work. It's called How to Talk to Girls. You can find that really on any podcast platform. And anyone who is interested in really getting more help and wants to just jump to going into a full out coaching program and skip all the learning yourself stuff, you can go to tripadvicecoaching.com. And if you go there, you're going to learn a little bit about the transformations that we've been able to do for guys. And we've been able to help guys of all heights, ethnicities, and sizes be able to attract women that they never thought they could and get into relationships and lose their virginity. And I like to say we perform miracles, but it's not miracles. It's really just teaching you the right skill sets and making sure that you go out and do it. So you can check that out if you're interested, tripadvicecoaching.com.
Trip, thank you so much for stopping on by. I love these topics. You're definitely an expert. You've been in the game for a long time, so I really appreciate you putting aside some time to help out an up-and-comer or a newer YouTube content creator as myself. I know you mentioned you've been there before, so definitely appreciate that. I know we could have expanded on these topics for hours, like the night game topic alone. We could have turned that into a 10-hour conversation, so I really enjoy you taking the time to stop by and hit some of these main points. And then, guys, if you're looking to take this stuff to a next level, not just the dating topics, but any area of life, I have a top 10% men's group that's for like-minded men looking to level up on all areas of living life by building lives worth living and loving. That is myself, Rich Cooper, and then a couple of Rich Cooper's entrepreneur level and top 1% generals. We manage that group. Have a lot of cool guys in there. Been signing up more people lately. I always say the value of these groups or the network is the other members in there too. So we're getting some real cool guys in there. I'm having a great time I've met up with a lot of them personally, looking forward to meet up with some more. In fact, before I got on the show, booking travel for this summer to meet up and start doing some in-person events. So guys, if you want to take this stuff to the next level, that's how you do it. DM me Instagram at Jaron Scott for more information on that. It's a $997 US lifetime membership, but once you're in, and we're not going to let you go. And we will hold your feet to the fire. You will definitely like the results you're getting. We're doing a lot of cool stuff in there, have a lot of engagement. It's really exciting. We're looking to hopefully have you, if you're watching or listening, as the next member there. So that being said, guys, I want to thank you all for stopping on by for this live stream. Do me a favor, like the channel or like the video, subscribe to the channel, leave any comments down below, ring the notification bell, and enable all notifications for this channel. And if you know someone else who might get value out of this, go ahead and share it with your friends too. Word of mouth is always appreciated. And once more, Trip, I want to thank you for stopping on by. And then to my audience, guys, definitely appreciate the support. And until next time, I shall bid you all farewell.